Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Nazario Pangala.
And I'm Cole Bissett.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Lost Sheep podcast. We are on episode number 22, the second episode that we've done while I'm in Chattanooga. Cole still at home for the summer, and we are into the month of July. Tomorrow, for us, will be the 4th of July. You guys will be seeing this on the 7th. Yes, the 7th. So that'll be exciting. Hopefully, you guys liked our last episode. It was a pretty fun one. And then Cole was super busy last week, and then I was busy when he was not busy. So that's why we couldn't find time last week, but we are back. How are we doing, Mr. Bissett? Mr. Burnt Bissett.
Like you said, pretty burnt. It was a hot day today. Again, another hay
Not as
day.
hot as you.
Oh, thank you. But look at that tail.
Hold on, I got a good one right here on the wrist. Oh,
Okay. Is that from our bracelet?
little watch. No, it's my Apple Watch. I got a little Apple Watch tan line going.
Nice.
Pretty sweet.
Nice. You got
So,
you got some drip on today. I like the
always have
polo,
drip.
classy.
Oh, you like the blue? Okay.
Nice. What's that cross? I've never seen that.
I've worn it ever since I've known you, sir.
Oh, really?
Wait. Yeah.
Oh, maybe I
okay.
just haven't noticed it. Dude, I lost mine. My Benedictine cross. It's gone. I wore it
Unbelievable.
every day, every single day. Anyways,
I am
how was your
currently dealing with a cough, so I'm probably gonna have to take away multiple times and go, and then I'll be back. So perfect practice right there.
I feel like everybody's sick right now. My entire family is getting sick.
Yeah, it's not fun when I'm broadcasting a game and a play is happening and I have to battle through. And yeah, I went to the movies yesterday. I went to saw A Quiet Place day 1, and I went with my roommate for the summer, Gray, and he was like, "We need you to not cough during this movie." And I made it through the entire movie without coughing, so I'm proud of myself for that one. It was tough. It was a battle.
That's a dub right there.
Yeah.
That's a dub. I can imagine Nazario up in the broadcasting stand. And he's hit a double. And she's running to second base. She's sliding. She's safe. Sorry, guys. Brief inconvenience there.
Prime time acting from Cole Bissett.
Thank
If
you.
you listen to my broadcast, it sounds exactly like that.
Thank you. Yeah, see, I don't know anything about softball, so I just made up a bunch of stuff. But anyways, so sounds like you had a decent week. Mine was full of work. We're about to go camping, which is going to be great. So I'm really looking forward to that. We have a lot of
Where you
disc
going?
golf. Montesano, it's in Huntsville, so we're not going far. But
Huntsville, Alabama. Have you ever heard
But,
of Cloudland Canyon State Park in Georgia?
what is it called?
Cloudland Canyon.
Cloudland. No, I have not.
Oh, well, my parents and my girlfriend came down last weekend and got to chill with them. That was a lot of fun. Very thankful for that. And we went to Cloudland Canyon on Sunday for a little hiking action. It's got 64 acres of hiking, and it's a big old canyon, so it's pretty sweet. Got some nice camping spots, and you mentioned camping and reminded me of that. So
Yeah, I like camping actually. It's kind of calming, but since there's 7 of us trying to fit into an RV, it can be a little tedious sometimes. But
you want to tell them
that's
a
the
story
life.
of how you pulled up last summer to my house with a camper?
Oh yeah.
Fun
So
little.
Nazario and I don't know, did we tell our meeting story on here?
What do you mean? Our dating
Like,
apps?
yeah, our
dating app?
dating app.
We had
Did
to
we?
have, right? We
Surely,
had to
right?
have.
Well, anyways, for those of you that aren't like tuned in and aren't OG the Lost Sheep podcast fans, we're gonna give you a quick refresher. So you got Nazario, you got me. Okay, we're both going to the University of Alabama. Nazario found out he was gonna go from his dentist, who kind of was like, "Yo, you should go to Alabama," and he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go to Alabama," and he went to Alabama.
It
And
was
I
that
was,
simple.
yeah, it was that simple. And then my mom and my dad went to Alabama, so I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go to Alabama." Anyways, they have this app for finding your roommate. It's called My College Roomie. Well, I look up and I'm trying to find somebody that's Christian, and I click all through the names, and it turns out the first people I matched with for like the top 40 of them were like all women. So apparently I'm really compatible with women. So I am taken. So ladies, I'm sorry. You have to wait.
I can hear just the drops of tears
Yeah.
and the just the pouting coming from all of our single
Happily
women out
taken.
there
Very happily
who
taken.
watch our podcast that were just struck by what you just said.
And Nazario is taken as well. We're both not single, so
There
sorry to
weren't
everybody.
as
I
many
know.
tears for that one, just for you.
Oh no, no, no.
They're all
We're
saved
we're
for
both
you.
studs in our own ways, and we appreciate our women very much. Anyways, back to the original story. We met on this college roommate app, and Nazario was like 40% compatible with me according to the app. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna send him a request. He had a TikTok called Jesus Freak, I think is what it was. And I was like, okay, he's Christian. And I said, this should be interesting. And so I sent him a message. I was like, yo, I'm Catholic. Really love to meet you. I'm trying to get a roommate. And he's like, no way. I'm Catholic too. And so that's kind of how we just met on Instagram.
You
Now,
fell in love from then.
yeah, it was like love at first sight. And so
It's the
now,
biggest bromance known to mankind. Our
mm-hmm,
girlfriends say it. Everyone that's around Alabama pretty much says it.
yeah.
It is a
And
bromance.
and now we're here spreading our bromance to you guys. But anyways, the best part of the story is we're driving up. My family's driving up on a trip, on vacation trip, and we already had plans to stay at a park for the night. And Nazario's like, "Yo, what are you doing?" And I'm like, driving up to Ohio to stay at a park." And he's like, "Dude, our house is right along the way. You should stop here and spend the night." And I said, let me check with my parents. My parents are like, let's see. Actually, it's not out of the way. Let's do it. And so we pulled up to Nazario's house, the first time I ever met him, with our two cars, 7 kids, or not 7 kids, 7 people in my family. Pulled up, parked, and what do you know? Nazario's sitting out there waiting for us to pull up and help set up our RV. And that is the first meeting of Nazario and Cole right there.
And over a year later, here we are.
Putting out a
Here
podcast.
here we are, one of us burnt as can be, the other one in a blue shirt making a podcast. Electricity. It's off the charts.
Yeah.
Absolutely off the charts. And then Bama Bound. Bama Bound was over a year. How do you feel about that?
About Bama Bound?
Well, how do you feel like it's already been a year since then?
Oh, it's weird because Caroline just went to hers like last week. And I
Hmm.
was like, did they bring you to the talent show thing?
Hmm.
Because I always remembered, I was like, dude, this is like a cult. I thought the talent show thing was the weirdest thing ever. And she was like, no. She was like, our Avanti people didn't even seem like they wanted to be there. I said, okay, that sounds about right. But it's kind of weird because I thought everybody went to the talent show. Did not everybody go to that?
I thought they did when we went, but most people don't even know what we're talking about. Probably they're like, "What in the world talent show are they even mentioning?"
They
So
don't even know what Bama Bound is either. So when
yeah.
you're a freshman, you have to go to Bama Bound. It's like orientation. But there you go.
Yeah.
Most of the people that are listening are, if people are listening, are probably from Bama, if I had to guess.
Who knows? Whomst among us to determine that one?
It is kind of funny.
Anyways,
If you look at the demographics on our channel, you'll have like, it'll be like 60% United States and then like 40% Africa. And I'm like, hey, that's kind of lit.
that's awesome. Probably from
Yes.
Ethiopia,
Yeah.
big
Duh.
Catholic country.
Where's
But
Father Mgaga from?
is it
You said it.
Cameroon? I know it. Uganda,
Cameroon.
Cameroon. I feel
No,
like it's
no, it's
Cameroon.
Cameroon. It's Cameroon.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're 10 minutes in, and we probably should get to our quote. You guys are probably waiting and itching for it. So, if you've been entertained by our naturally entertaining duo we got going here, well, we're gonna get to the quote. So we're gonna dive right deeply into it. Let's do it.
Do you want me to do it or do you want to do it?
Oh, I'm not gonna lie. I thought you were gonna go to the transition there. I thought that's why your hand was on the computer,
Oh,
and I was
oh,
like,
oh,
oh,
yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
setting him up
All right, guys.
perfectly.
We did this last time. Welcome, cool 5-second transition. Sorry, everybody else. I tried to add music into it last time if you're on the audio. Did you add music?
No.
You should add music this time.
I
don't
did
know
not
how
know
hard
that.
that is, but I did it. Anyways,
Okay.
and 3, 2, 1. You know, the crazy thing is we can still talk over this, so it's like, hey, everybody.
All right,
Me.
let's dive into this
Really?
quote. All right, so it's from C.S. Lewis. Have we done a C.S. Lewis quote? We had to have done one by
No,
now,
I
right?
don't think so. We talked
All
about him though because remember the pain episode? We talked cuz I brought up the problem with pain, I think is what it's called. The book.
yeah,
And
I got
he
you.
he wrote that, so.
All right, well, we're gonna dive into his newest quote. Actually, we don't know when it was actually made, but doesn't
I don't even know
matter.
what this is from. I just
Yeah, we really don't know. It was on Instagram.
Instagram Reels.
Here we go. The fact that our heart yearns for something earth can't supply is proof that heaven must be our home. Read it one more time. The fact that our heart yearns for something earth can't supply is proof that heaven must be our home. Yes. So I will dive into heaven being our home as our first aspect. And this comes from Psalms chapter 17, verse 15. And it says, "We will see your face in righteousness. We shall be satisfied when we are in your likeness." When we are in your likeness. So this is obviously from Psalms talking about heaven and talking about God. So it's going to be quite a bit different than the earth and where we're at right now, obviously. The full presence, the fullness of the Lord completely in heaven. But most importantly, well, actually, I'm not going to say that because I don't know what the most important thing is. But one of the most exceptional things about it is no evil, no brokenness, nothing of that kind will be in heaven. And that is not obviously the most important thing, is being with God there. Second most important thing is he is the ultimate thing that is there. There is nothing else trying to get to us. There's only the fullness and love of God. We will no longer have our flesh and earthly desires that are trying to pull us in every which way towards the darkness, and then God trying to pull us back to the light. No, we will be fully immersed in the light, fully immersed in the love of God, and we will just be so in awe. And it's like when you first reach that point of like falling in love. I'm sure Cole, you can remember this with Caroline, or I can remember this with Caitlin. Like you're just fully immersed in your love for the other person, that there's like nothing else there. There's nothing else going on, nothing else you can think about. It's just fully them, and all you want is to either see them like smile or make them happy, and you just want to love. You just want to love them. And that is incredible, and that is a gift that we have been given here on earth. That is an example of what it's like to be fully in love and immersed with God in heaven. And it's just going to be to the fullest extent once we get there. And not only will we be in awe of God, but He will be sharing His incredible love with all of us even more. And we will be able to experience His full love, because we have a part of ourselves that is trying to reject God, right? Our brokenness and just our brokenness is doesn't want to see the light of God. Like the evilness in us, the part that comes from sin, is trying to go the other way. And our part of our lives is trying to filter that out of ourselves and trying to see ourselves fully towards the light. And then once we get to heaven, we don't have to worry about that battle anymore. That's why I remember at our retreat over the fall, Cole, when someone asked Carlos, one of our focus missionaries, like, when does the battle end? Because we talk about this spiritual warfare and this battle that we're in. When does it end? Oh, it ends when we die, and it ends when we go to heaven. That's the only time it's ever going to end. But when it ends, it's forever. The battle ends forever. And although God has already won the battle and has conquered death and the devil, it's still up to us to continue that battle and continue that choice to overcome the light. Once we win that battle, Then what do we get to do? Going back to the Bible verse, we will see your face in righteousness, and we shall be satisfied when we are in your likeness. So, our home is 1000% in heaven, and we cannot wait for that. We cannot even imagine it, but we do get glimpses and examples of it here on earth that are an incredible blessing. That was a pretty long intro. We usually don't go that long, one person going, but I'll toss it to you, sir.
You were kind of just going. I was letting you go. Um, I kind of like just like you started on the home aspect. There's a song. You know the song. I know the song. It's a big song. I actually think I introduced the song to you,
Oh,
and your family likes it too.
ooh.
It's called "My Home" by Miles
Oh,
Smith.
my mom loves the song.
It is a great song, and I think it can be taken two ways. There is definitely a romantic aspect to it, which is probably what it was written for. But I believe if you look at the lyrics, you really could think about it as a sinner talking to God. Um, I'll just read to you, I'll read you the first verse and the chorus. Like a shelter from the storm, a fireplace that keeps me warm. Like a match can spark a flame, you start a fire inside my veins. Somehow with you, I don't feel alone. You'll always be my home, my heart. I'll be with you wherever you are. My home, my heart. I feel you with me when we're worlds apart. You'll always be my home, 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 home. There's a lot of emphasis on the word home. It's important to know that God is always going to be your home, right? Because you're meant and created for heaven. We're not created for hell because hell was created for the fallen angels. We are meant for heaven. So heaven is meant to be our home, right? And if we choose to run away from home and run away from those choices, that's our own free will. God is not sending us to hell. We're sending ourselves there by making the choice to run away from our home, right? We're all called to be in heaven. And like when we talk about emptiness and what our heart yearns for, right? If your heart isn't yearning for your home, then you're going to feel empty inside, right? Because again, we're called and led ultimately to our home, which is heaven. So if we're pursuing more sinful things, which is leading us away from our home, we're going to feel more empty inside. The more pleasures we try to pursue, the more empty we're going to feel inside because it's farther away from heaven. Right? And so another thing that is hugely understated in today's society, and I think every single person in the world struggles with this, is earthly belongings. All of us have our connections. It doesn't matter what it is. For me, probably my phone. I use it more than I should. I'm on it more than I should be. Um, Other people are different things. Some people are, it could be something like soda or
Cars.
uh, cars or video games. There's plenty of things. But earthly belongings are a huge deal to a lot of people. And in the Bible, Colossians chapter 3, verse 2 says, "Set your mind on things above, not on earthly things." So, right there in the Bible, it says, don't get addicted to what you're doing. Don't do it because it's not going to be with you when you're in heaven. I'm going to be with you when you're in heaven. And that's way greater than this earthly thing, right? Because they're not going to follow you to heaven. So, why pursue it? Now, some things are healthy pursuits, right? Because they're leading you towards the greater good. And then some things are just fine. But if it's something that's taking you away from your time with God and taking you away from your time in relationships with other people, then maybe it's calls for a chance for you to sit back, reevaluate your life, and try to start over with it. Try to improve on certain aspects. That's the whole point of Lent. Literally, we are given, in the Catholic faith, we are given a 40-day period to fast from something that we enjoy and are addicted to. That way, we can refresh our mind and realize our heart needs to not be set on this thing. It needs to be set on God because He's above all of these things. And that's the whole point of Lent. And I think that's why at the end of the 40-day fast, you feel so good about yourself.
Hmm. And then also going at the end of the 40-day fast, you also want to continue those things as well. And that's when it gets really hard though, is when you're out of that period. It's like, oh, you're called to do this like 40 days. Then it's like, oh, how do I continue this throughout normal life, because Lent is only a certain period of time, and there's this whole big ordinary time. How do I continue that hard challenge as well? But definitely needed. To go back, it says our heart yearns for something that earth can't provide. And yes, it talks about heaven being our home and that is our ultimate destination. But before then, our life on earth, does that mean that we can't enjoy it and that we can't have a fruitful life here on earth? No, that is not what it's saying. It actually is leading us to something greater in our lives here on earth. Okay? Our heart yearns for something that earth can't supply. This earth cannot supply the things that our souls and our hearts truly long for while we're on earth and after our life here on earth. But there are ways for us to reach these things that our hearts and souls do yearn for during our earthly lives. Love is the ultimate source of really everything that goodness is. And that all comes from God. The earth, first and foremost, teaches us in a very different way throughout many mistakes the misconstruedness and the falsities of love. And that is why love is so broken in this world since the fall. There's so many broken parts that we could go to in about that. But that's not what this is about. This is about finding what truly supplies our hearts. And there are points in our lives when we can have heavenly experiences on earth, whether that be through going to church and having just an incredible connection and just being completely open to the Lord, giving yourself to Him and saying yes to whatever He is giving you, receiving Him in the fullness in that moment, even though we should do that all the time. It is harder at different times. And we receive the fullness of His love. And we are like, oh my goodness, what is this? What is this peace? What is this joy? What is this just complete satisfaction that is heaven on earth? It could also be when you are with family and you guys are just enjoying sitting out by the fire and talking about life, talking about God too, and all the things in your life, just sharing love with each other, sharing communion with each other, which is a big word, great word, and encapsulates love in a bunch of different ways. That could be how you receive heaven on earth. Because we're going up there to heaven, right? Hopefully, that's our goal. What did I say there? We are going up to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Not just, oh, I'm going up to heaven with God. I'm going to be in this whole secure section by myself and God. No, that's what hell's like. Hell is going down by yourself, being separated not just from God, but from the other people, the other human beings that we love. Now, we weren't created just to love God, loving God number one, absolutely, but loving people as well. We're called to love people when we are also called to be loved by God and by other people. We are created for a communion with God and with each other. So being able to experience other people and their love as well is heaven on earth. We are going to experience love with other people in the fullness in heaven as well. Once we're in heaven, we won't have any twisted, impure, selfish, jealous, judgmental thoughts about other people. People won't have those about us either. We will be able to look at other people out of pure love, which obviously being with God, being able to think about Him fully, being immersed in His love fully is going to be awesome. But I'm excited to be able to think about people and to look at people in the fullness of love as well, because we are all so broken in that aspect. And whether it's looking at Cole and be like, ha, he's burnt. Like in heaven, we'll be like, man, I'm sorry, Cole, that you're burnt. But I see through this burntness like some beauty coming out of it. Like you worked hard, to be out there in the sun and battle through it, and now you're offering this suffering up, whatever it may be. In heaven, that's going to be an incredible thing. But there are things on this earth that are not from this earth where we can experience heaven and experience the joy and the love of it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Um, I think you touched on it a little more with going back to like when I was talking about hobbies. Let's talk about developing healthy habits, healthy things to do in your life. What are some things that you find yourself doing often that you use to pass your time that you would consider a healthy hobby?
Reading,
Reading.
and obviously I am immersed in the sports world, and I'm trying to develop as much sports knowledge as possible so that when I'm either writing articles or talking to people or on podcasts, anything like that, that I know as much as possible about everything going on in the sports world. And it's beneficial for my career. It's also beneficial for my just mental health because I'm reading, seeing new words, all these different things. Like reading is a good thing for us. That's probably the healthiest habit, or listening to podcasts because um, you're learning new information. I like to listen to Christian podcasts. I also like to listen to a lot of sports podcasts. So just learning instead of just entertainment, which it is in a way entertainment for me because I love this stuff and I love, but I'm also learning, which is just a whole different aspect of a hobby.
Yeah, I completely agree. Some of mine are guitar, soccer, hanging out with friends, disc golf. These are healthy hobbies because they're not consuming your life, right? Once you take it a step further and they're pushing you away from a relationship with God, I don't care if it's playing guitar and you're playing guitar to the point that you're not seeing other people and you're not hanging out with friends and you're not hanging out with God. That is when it becomes too much. Is my internet bad? Am I okay? Can you still hear me?
You were like a little scratchy for a couple seconds, but you're good now.
I'm good now? Okay. But remember, it's important to look back at what you're doing in your day-to-day life and realize if it's consuming too much of your time. I have a lot of things that happens to me with. Sometimes I get obsessed with disc golf to the point where I lose time with my family because I'm constantly out doing disc golf. And it's just things like that. You just got to learn. I got to learn. Everybody's got to learn how to control some of these hobbies and remember that our heart does yearn for more than what we're doing here. Our heart yearns for God, right? That's what this entire quote's about. So just remember that and remember what's important in life.
And then
Anyways,
also to go along with that, going back to the retreat that we had last fall, there was a talk from our boy JP, and he talked about how we can become or we can use anything in our life as like prayer. Like any time in our life, anything we're doing can be turned into prayer in some way. Whether it be going and playing disc golf and looking around at the nature that you're immersed in, because I know that's the reason that Cole loves it, is because you're going out really into the forest and different, sometimes forests, sometimes other things, just different landscapes. And you can be thanking the Lord for being out in nature. You could be just thanking the Lord for being able to have this body, this healthy body to go out and play this game and for the game in general to enjoy it. And so you can be thankfulness. It could be going out to work and you're in whatever work and you say, Lord, I offer this work up for you, whatever it may be. Help me to, do good at this work and help me to keep my mind on it and to glorify you through my work. There's another way that we can do it. And there's also worship, of course, different ways to worship, offerings, music, all these different things, praise and worship. So there's different ways to pray, and there's ways to pray throughout the entirety of the day. Now, it doesn't always have to be that you are sitting there saying words to God continuously. Having Him on your mind, longing for Him even more as you go along, is a form of prayer. And it doesn't always have to be involved with words and dialogue. It could be listening. It could be just sitting there and allowing whatever thoughts come into your mind, healthy thoughts, pure thoughts, good thoughts, and allowing them to come into your mind. Think about them and see how God is using them. Watched a video last night from Christopher West. If you don't know who Christopher West is, you gotta look him up. Do you know who Christopher West is?
let me look him
He's
up.
He's an incredible Catholic. He's focuses on the theology of the body and how that relates to everything in our lives. Incredible videos. But yesterday he was talking about the best prayer advice that he's ever received, and he was talking about how God uses the language of each of our hearts to reach us. And he learned this from a priest or a clergy person, someone like that. And so he just went and he was talking to his spiritual director about I go sit to pray and all these different thoughts come into my mind and I can't focus on. He's like, Well, Christopher, think about these thoughts. How could God be using these thoughts to communicate to you? And for me, sports are constantly in my mind. Different movies are constantly in my mind, scenes and stuff like that. And God can be using your language of your heart to reach you. Some of it, like for you, Cole, I'm sure there are just a ton of song lyrics in your head pretty consistently with how much you listen to music.
Very true.
So that's the language of your heart. God can be using those lyrics to reach you in different ways. And for me, like all those different things, he gives you thoughts. Like God knows everything. He provides them in different ways. And you can meditate on your thoughts and what they're doing. What in the world does this story come from? Say it is. Oh, let me think of a good reference. It could literally be like a Marvel movie scene, and it's when I don't know what's her name. Whatever in the Winter Soldier when she lifts up the bomb and it like kills the people in
Oh,
the
Scarlet Witch.
yeah, and you could be diving into this on like what is God trying to tell me? Like, is it right if something like this happens? How do you save the right people? How do you do the right thing? This is obviously an imperfect reference, but it is about diving into your thoughts that the Lord gives you. How does He use the language of your heart to reach you, and to not be afraid of that, and to use prayer can be involved in so many things. So do not tell yourself that I don't have time for prayer, because that is just a lie. A lie that you're telling yourself and that you're telling other people realistically if you're saying that. Prayer can be incorporated in every part of your life. You could simply just turn on Christian music, or you could turn on any type of music, think about how it relates to God, all these different things, so many great ways. Like we said, our heart is yearning for heaven. God provides heaven on earth for us in different glimpses, different examples, because He knows what we are searching for. He knows that only the thing that can satisfy us is Him.
I agree, and I think it's a good point to segue into our shepherds of the week, and we're gonna do our animation again because we can. And
Shepherd of the week.
there you go. There's the sound effect. Nazario, you got it from now on. Anyways, I'm gonna let him introduce these two.
So last Saturday, we had in Catholic Church one of the solemnities, celebrations of quite possibly the. Well, I mean, they wouldn't like me saying this probably about them because they're very humble people. Well, are they the most humble people in the world? I don't know, but they were incredible early church fathers. One of them was the first pope of the Catholic Church. One of them was one of the greatest evangelical speakers and writers that there is. Saturday, June the 29th, was the feast day of Saints Peter and St. Paul. Now, they did have a little bit of some bickering back in the day. That all got figured out. Don't you worry. They're absolutely just partying it up in heaven right now. In the right way, of course, because they're in heaven. I mean, they're vibing. And they're probably praying for us. We hope they are. We know they are. That's what the saints do for us. And Saints Peter and Paul, they are our shepherds of the week. For myself, St. Paul, his writing, all his different writings in the New Testament have been an incredible blessing. He is not only a great speaker and a great writer, but he also is a great example of what God can do for us and how He can turn things around. I mean, St. Peter was awesome. St. Paul was literally killing people. He was literally killing Christians. Dude, can we think about this? Like, he was literally killing Christians. And what did Jesus do? Well, one of our references from Bible study is sometimes God hits us with a 2x4. Sometimes he hits the little stick to get our attention. Sometimes the 2x4. It was probably like in Star Wars, and I forget which one what it is, but on Andor, whatever it's called, where the little guys, the
Yeah,
little
indoor.
yeah, and they use the two
Ewoks.
logs. Yeah, use the two logs and they come together and they smash the big thing. Okay,
Oh my gosh.
this is what God uses to knock Paul off of his horse. Just boom. See you later, buddy, because that is the kind of knocking into that dude's head that he needed. And that's just exactly what he needed. He knocked him off his horse. He couldn't see no more for a while because he was crucifying and persecuting Christians that did not deserve it, obviously. And this is what Paul needed. And this changed his life forever. It changed his eternity forever. But no one is too far gone. And St. Paul is a great example. Literally killing Christians, persecuting them. And he's turned things around to become one of the greatest evangelists that we have. Why was he one of the greatest evangelists is another important reason. Because he completely allowed God to use himself. Used his voice, used his hands to write, used his knowledge in whatever ways that he could. He allowed the Holy Spirit to fill him up, allowed him to speak through him. We have to be willing to say yes. How did Christ come into the world? He had to come into the womb of a woman and be birthed to become human. What did it take for that to happen? It took the yes of Mary. Mary had to say yes to this, had to say yes to receiving the Holy Spirit so that Jesus could be incarnate in her womb. This is quite possibly the greatest yes of all time. Now it's up to us to continue this yes, this constant yes of yes, Lord, I receive you. Yes, Lord, I give myself to you. It is a yes to the Lord all the time. Is there ever a time where we should say no to the Lord? I'm not sure if I can think of a reason why.
Mm-mm.
Yes to the Lord. That is exactly what Paul did. Now, was it troubling? Absolutely. Did it test him? Absolutely. But it molded him into the person that God needed him to be. And that was an incredible evangelist. And he said yes to the point of a beheading. God said, this is how you're going to die. Yes, and it happened. He, unfortunately, was beheaded. He was a martyr, which is an incredible feat for any Christian. And it is scary, but it is one of the greatest ways to die, personally, dying for Jesus. And his yes continues on. Now he's in heaven, saying yes to the Lord in praise and worship forever and ever. And we learn from him that our no's can last for months and months and years and years and years and years and years. But once we take that yes, we take that step to say yes, is when it all can turn around for the good of not only ourselves, but for the Lord, for his kingdom, and for all the people on earth that we can impact. And St. Paul impacted plenty. Now, let's turn it over to Cole's patron saint, St. Peter.
Don't worry, guys. We didn't forget about Peter. Peter's one of the most
How could you
well-known
forget about Peter?
saints.
I
Yeah,
feel like
you
he
really
would
can't.
never let you forget about him. Peter has that type of personality.
Yeah.
If you watch The Chosen, you can see Peter's personality even more, and you would just
Mm.
understand it.
Anyways, Saint Peter. He is my confirmation saint. I've kind of grown up with Saint Peter as my patron saint. It's not in my name, at all, but it's just who I chose because it's who I connected with most. He holds the keys to the kingdom of heaven, the first pope, like Nazario said, and one of the most influential saints of all time. Now, if we look back at Peter's life, he was a fisherman, and Jesus told him to drop everything and follow him. And Peter lived by exactly what we are talking about today. He dropped his earthly belongings and realized, I'm going to pursue God. So he did it because his heart is only satisfied in him. And so he did it. He dropped everything, didn't even raise a question, was like, all right, I'm following you. And he followed him throughout the rest of his life. And the only time where you can really see the humanness of Peter and his the bigger part of his flaws, if you look back, are the three times people are asked if he is asked if he knows God. And the cock crowed three times, signaling that he denied him. He denied knowing Christ. And it's a great example of forgiveness, like we talked about last week, because when Jesus rose from the dead, he came and visited them and asked Jesus if he loved him. And he said, yes, I do. I do love you. And if we're looking back at this, it really shows how much forgiveness God can show you. And the more shows that the more you yearn for him, the closer you're going to grow. Because Peter, throughout the rest of his life, committed himself after he realized his mistakes, after Jesus forgave him. He committed himself to God completely and utterly to the point of crucifixion in Rome at the end of his life. His brother Andrew, also a very popular saint, was crucified upside down for God
Saint Peter
because
was
he was.
crucified upside down too, right?
Was it both of them? I thought it was just Andrew.
I know for sure it was Peter.
Okay, well, there you go then. If you know for sure it was Peter, I know for sure it was Andrew, then there you go. They're both crucified upside down out of respect for Jesus because they didn't want to die in the same way because they thought it would be disrespectful to him. I mean, look at that loyalty. Look at that loyalty. That requires a lot of strength. So,
Saint Andrew, it says, was an X shaped, like a diagonal, and
that's right.
Saint Peter was upside down. So
That's right. Well, I think that's going to conclude our Shepherd of the Week.
I
Do you
will
have
have to say
anything
one
to say
final
on the
thing.
quote? You got it. Go
One
for it.
final thing
Finish it
on our
off.
saints. On our saints. So Peter had this moment where he says, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." This incredible moment where Jesus gives him the keys to the kingdom of heaven. Then later, he has obviously the denying of Christ. In a few verses after, I'm not exactly sure how long it is, we have the moment when Jesus then tells him, "Get behind me, Satan," when Jesus says that he needs to be crucified. And Peter's like, "We don't die. Like, don't do that." Then we have St. Peter, persecuted Christians. Then his thing was obviously turned around as well. So both these men exemplify that, one, we all have different beginnings. Second, we all also have different journeys. St. Peter, he pledged himself to Jesus and then made mistakes as well, but he came running back. They both came running back. They both changed their ways over and over again because it's a constant yearning for more. And that constant yearning, like, there's gonna be times where the earth gets to us and we were like, "Oh, here we go. The earth is giving me something. Here we go. This is it. This is what I'm yearning for right here." And our brain tricks us. And we think that the earth is going to give us something that our heart is yearning for. Then we go and we get it. Boom. Absolutely not. We know, dang, what the heck are we doing? We messed up. We did it. We did it wrong. We listened to the earth, and the earth lied to us because the earth cannot satisfy the yearnings of our heart. Then we go back. We run right back. We yearn back to the Father because we know that's what we need. And it's a constant thing where we go back to the Father. We're given what we needed. We're satisfied. And then something happens. We fall out. We see the earth. The earth gives us something. It falls down. It fails. We go back to God again. And we continue this journey throughout our lives until finally we get to go to our home and be fully satisfied in all of our yearnings forever. And the earth never gets to trick us ever again. And by the earth, I think people, do they get what the earth means every time? Because, like, by the earth, we don't just mean this literal planet that we live on. We mean the earthly world, our flesh, the brokenness, the sin of the earth that happened at the fall. That is what we mean when we speak in that way. And the world is going to continue to try to give us things that will not satisfy forever. It will always try to do that until we finally join the Lord in our home in heaven, where our yearnings are fulfilled.
I agree. Uh, I think you just created yourself an Instagram reel right there, by the way. I was sitting there listening. I'm like, this is going to be one. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. We're at our 45 minutes, a longer one. I really enjoyed it, though. I thought it was very intricate. I like that word, intricate. I thought it was intricate. I thought there was a lot of detail in it. We hope y'all thought there was too. Anyways, thank you guys so much. Remember, we're always open to questions, emails, messages, DMs, whatever. If you've got something you want us to talk about, you got a quote you want us to do, send it on over, and we will respond. Don't worry. Now, thank you guys so much for today. We will maybe see y'all next week. Who knows?
Like and subscribe.
Actually, we have a surprise for y'all next week.
We
have
do?
a surprise. We do have a surprise. You can't say it though. You know it? Do you know it?
No, you can tell me afterwards
It
because
hasn't
it's a
clicked. Has it
surprise,
clicked?
and
Is
they
it
don't get to
clicking for
know
you
until
yet?
next week.
Nazario, next week.
Yep, next week.
What's going on next week? Just think in your head.
I'm thinking in my head. Like and subscribe, yo.
Like
share,
and subscribe.
Share to other people so that other people can receive the message of God that is coming through us, because we are saying yes to the Lord. You gonna say anything?
No,
Are you
I
gonna
kind of thought,
listen?
is that at the closer?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry guys. See you later.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lost Sheep Podcast. I'm Nazario Pangallo here with
Cole Bissett.